Imagine this. A billionaire leaves a waiter $0 in tips, but hides a note that could flip his entire world upside down. What was in that note? Stick around to find out. On a cold, rainy night, Ethan Parker, a single father, cleared the last table of his shift. The elegant woman in the black Armani suit had sat for over an hour nursing coffee, then left without a single dollar in tips, just an empty plate and a folded note tucked beneath the rim. When Ethan unfolded it, refined handwriting appeared with a message that stopped his heart cold. A billionaire left $0. But hidden underneath was something that could change everything for him and his little girl. But hold on, this isn't just a story of luck. It's about a test that reveals true character, and a proposal that could shatter every barrier in his life. You won't believe what happens next. The rain came down harder as Ethan refilled Joe's coffee for the third time that night. Old Maple Diner sat on the edge of town where the street lights flickered and the pavement cracked. The kind of place where nobody came unless they had to. Friday nights brought the usual crowd. Truck drivers killing time before their next haul. Factory workers too tired to cook. College kids counting quarters for a cup of coffee that would last them 3 hours. Ethan had worked these tables for 5 years now. Before that, he wrote code for a software company downtown. Decent salary, health insurance, a future that made sense. Then Emily died in a car accident on a Tuesday afternoon, and suddenly none of it mattered. Their daughter Lily was 2 years old. Someone had to be there when she woke up. Someone had to make breakfast and tie her shoes and read her stories before bed. Night shifts at the diner paid enough to keep the lights on, and it let him be a father during the hours that counted. He was 34 now, though some days he felt 50. His uniform was clean, but worn thin at the elbows. His smile came easy because he had learned that kindness cost nothing, and in a place like this, it was the only currency that mattered. Most customers never bothered learning his name. He knew all of theirs. Joe sat at the counter, his trucker cap pushed back, telling a story about a load of refrigerators he had hauled to Montana in a blizzard. Ethan listened and nodded in the right places, though he had heard the story twice before. "You're going to fall asleep at the wheel if you keep drinking, Joe," Ethan said, keeping his voice light. Joe waved him off but pushed the whiskey glass away. "You worry too much, kid. Someone has to." Over in booth 3, Sarah hunched over a textbook, her coffee long cold. She was maybe 19, studying nursing at the community college. Ethan had watched her count out coins more than once, her face going red when she came up short. Tonight she ordered the cheapest thing on the menu. When he brought the check, he had already crossed out the total and written 0. "Ethan, I can't." "You can't," he said quietly. "Pay it forward someday." She looked like she might cry. He moved to the next table before she could argue. At 9 o'clock, his phone buzzed in his pocket. He stepped into the kitchen where Marcus was scrubbing down the grill. "It's Lily," Ethan said. Marcus nodded without looking up. "Go ahead," Ethan answered on the second ring. "Hey, sweetheart." "Daddy. I miss you." Her voice was small and sleepy. "When are you coming home?" "Not until late, baby. But Mrs. Henderson next door is right there if you need anything." "Okay, I know. I just wanted to say good night." Something in his chest pulled tight. "Good night, Lily. I love you." "Love you too, Daddy." He stayed there for a moment after she hung up, staring at the cracked tile floor. 5 years of this. 5 years of missing bedtime and school plays and the sound of her breathing in the next room. Emily used to say he was the best father she knew. He wondered what she would think now. When he pushed back through the kitchen doors, he noticed the woman in the corner booth for the first time. She did not belong here. That much was obvious. Her suit was black and sharp, the kind that cost more than his rent. The watch on her wrist caught the fluorescent light. Her handbag sat on the seat beside her. Leather so fine it looked soft even from across the room. She had been sitting there for over an hour. 1 cup of coffee, 1 slice of apple pie she barely touched, no phone in her hands, no book, just sitting, watching. Ethan approached with the coffee pot. Can I warm that up for you, ma'am? She looked up. Her eyes were dark and measuring. The kind of gaze that saw too much. Hope the coffee is warm enough for this cold night, ma'am, he added, trying to fill the silence. It's fine. Her voice was smooth, controlled. She looked back down at her cup. He retreated. Something about her made him uneasy. She did not fit here, and she knew it, but she stayed anyway. Across the diner, Joe was getting loud again. Ethan caught his eye, and Joe settled down, sheepish. In booth 3, Sarah was packing up her books, mouthing, "Thank you," one more time. Ethan waved her off. The woman in the corner watched all of it. At 10:30, she stood and walked to the counter. Ethan met her at the register. "Just the coffee and pie?" he asked. "Yes." The total came to $8.50. She handed him a credit card without a word. He ran it, gave her the receipt to sign. She signed it, left the merchant copy on the counter, and walked out into the rain. Ethan looked down at the receipt. The tip line was blank. 0. He felt the disappointment settle low in his gut, though he was not surprised. Rich people rarely tipped well. They thought the meal was enough. He folded the receipt and moved to clear her table. That was when he saw the envelope. It sat beneath the edge of the plate, white and crisp, folded once. On the outside, in precise handwriting, "For the waiter who remembers names." Ethan picked it up. His hands were shaking, though he could not say why. Inside was a single sheet of paper and a business card. The paper read, "I need to see you. This is not charity. This is a proposal. Come to Hale Industries tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning. Ask for Victoria Hale. Don't ignore this." The business card was heavy stock, embossed lettering. Victoria Hale, CEO, Hale Industries. He knew that name. Everyone did. She was in the news constantly. Forbes had ranked her among the richest self-made women in the country. Tech industry, philanthropy, the kind of person who moved through the world like she owned it, and she had just sat in his diner for an hour, left 0, and told him to come see her. His first thought was that it was a prank. His second was that it was a scam. Rich people did not leave notes for waiters. They did not care what happened after they walked out the door. But something about the way she had watched him, the way her eyes followed every move like she was studying him, testing him. He slipped the note and card into his pocket and finished his shift in a daze. By the time he got home, it was 2:30 in the morning. The apartment was dark except for the nightlight in Lily's room. He checked on her first. She was asleep, curled around her stuffed rabbit, her hair tangled on the pillow. He stood there for a long time, just watching her breathe. His phone buzzed. An email from Lily's school. He opened it, squinting at the screen. The subject line read, "Important update on tuition." He read it twice to make sure he understood. Next semester's tuition was increasing. The school was implementing a new enhanced learning program. The cost was going from $1,200 to $2,500. His bank account had $340 in it. He sat down on the edge of his bed and stared at the wall. Lily could not transfer schools. She had friends there. Her teachers knew her. It was the only stable thing in her life after Emily died. He could not take that away from her. But $2,500. He did not have it. He would not have it. The note in his pocket felt heavy. He pulled it out and read it again. Victoria Hale. Hale Industries. 10 in the morning. This is not charity. This is a proposal. What kind of proposal? What could a billionaire possibly want from him? He thought about ignoring it, throwing the note away, pretending it never happened. Rich people did not help poor people without wanting something in return. That was how the world worked. He had learned that the hard way. But then he thought about Lily, about the school email, about the $340 that would not stretch no matter how hard he tried. If there was even a 1% chance this could help her. Could he really walk away? He lay down but did not sleep. He watched the ceiling and thought about Emily. She had been a nurse at the county hospital. She worked doubles and overnight shifts and never complained. The night before she died, she told him, "Give her the life I couldn't give her." He had been trying. God, he had been trying, but it was never enough. At 6 o'clock in the morning, Lily crawled into his bed. Her hair was a mess, and her eyes were still half closed. She pressed her face against his shoulder. "Daddy, did you sleep well?" "I did, sweetheart," he lied. "I had a dream about Mommy. She said she was proud of us." His throat closed. He pulled her closer. "She is, baby. I promise." "Are you going to work today?" "Not until tonight. We have the whole day." She smiled and closed her eyes again. He held her and stared at the wall and made his decision. He would go to Hale Industries. Not because he believed in miracles, not because he thought a billionaire would save him, but because he needed to know what she wanted. Why she had sat in that diner for an hour. Why she had watched him, why she had left that note. And maybe, just maybe, because refusing to try felt like giving up, and he had promised Emily he would never do that. The building was 40 stories of glass and steel, the kind that reflected clouds and made you feel small just looking at it. Ethan stood on the sidewalk across the street for 10 minutes before he crossed. He wore the only suit he owned, the one from his wedding 7 years ago. It was too tight in the shoulders now, and the pants were a little short, but it was the best he had. The lobby smelled like expensive cologne and fresh flowers, marble floors. A reception desk that looked like it belonged in a museum. The woman behind it glanced up as he approached, her smile professional and distant. "I'm here to see Victoria Hale," Ethan said. His voice came out rougher than he meant it to. The receptionist's smile did not change, but something shifted in her eyes. "Do you have an appointment?" "She asked me to come." "My name is Ethan Parker." The woman picked up her phone and murmured something he could not hear. She listened, then hung up. And this time, when she looked at him, there was surprise. 38th floor, the elevator on the left. He rode up alone, watching the numbers climb. His reflection stared back at him from the polished walls. He looked out of place, like someone who had wandered in from another life. The doors opened onto a hallway of glass and dark wood. A young man in an expensive suit met him immediately. "Mr. Parker, right this way." They walked past offices where people sat at computers worth more than his car, past conference rooms with views that stretched to the horizon. The assistant stopped at a set of double doors at the end of the hall and knocked twice before opening them. "Mr. Parker is here." Victoria Hale stood behind a desk that could have fit his entire apartment. The office was massive and minimal. All clean lines and natural light. Windows ran from floor to ceiling, overlooking the city like a kingdom. She wore a different suit today, charcoal gray, and her hair was pulled back in a way that made her look sharper. "Thank you, David," she said to the assistant, who nodded and left, closing the doors behind him. Victoria gestured to the chairs across from her desk. "Please sit." Ethan sat. She did not sit immediately. Instead, she walked to a small table near the window where a coffee maker sat, the expensive kind that ground beans fresh. "Coffee?" she asked. "Sure." She made 2 cups in silence, then brought them both to the desk and sat across from him. It was strange watching a billionaire pour coffee. He had expected her to have someone do it for her. "Thank you for coming," Victoria said. Her voice was calm, controlled. "I wasn't sure you would." Ethan wrapped his hands around the cup. It was warm and solid. "With all respect, Miss Hale, why am I here? And why the 0 tip?" She took a sip of her coffee, then set it down carefully. "The tip was a test. I needed to see how you'd react to being overlooked." Something hot flared in his chest. "You tested me like some kind of experiment." "Yes." She did not look away. "And you passed. You didn't curse me. Didn't complain to your coworkers. Didn't even frown. You just said thank you and wished me a good night." Ethan stood up. The chair scraped against the floor. "I don't know what kind of game this is, but I'm not interested." "It's not a game." Victoria's voice stayed level. Sit down, please. He stayed standing. I came here because I thought maybe you needed something, that maybe this was real, but you're just bored. You wanted to see what the poor waiter would do. I need someone who treats people with dignity regardless of their status. Victoria stood as well, meeting his eyes. I've been looking for months. I watched you for an hour in that diner. The way you handled the drunk driver, the college girl who couldn't pay. The phone call with your daughter. You were kind when no one was watching. That's rare. So you insult me to prove a point? I test you to make sure you're real. She walked around the desk, closer now. I'm offering you a job. Community outreach manager for a project I'm launching. $75,000 a year, full benefits, and a scholarship for your daughter at one of the best private schools in the state. The number hit him like a physical thing. 75,000. He made 23, working 60 hours a week. What do you want from me? His voice came out quieter than he meant. I'm just a waiter. I don't have a degree in community outreach. I don't have connections. What could I possibly do for you? You've been there. Victoria returned to her desk and picked up a folder. You know what it's like to work 2 jobs and still come up short. To smile at people who don't see you, to make choices no one should have to make. She handed him the folder. He opened it. Inside were documents, spreadsheets, photographs. The header on the first page read, Second Chances Initiative. He read through it slowly. A program for single parents in difficult circumstances, job training, placement assistance, child care support, educational grants for their children. The budget was in the millions. You want me to run this? I want you to help build it, to make sure it actually helps people instead of just making me feel good. Victoria sat back down. You have 3 days to think about it. If you say yes, you start in 2 weeks. Ethan closed the folder. His hands were shaking. This is too much. There has to be a catch. The catch is that you'll work harder than you've ever worked. That you'll carry the weight of knowing that families are depending on you. That you'll have to make decisions that affect real lives. She met his eyes. If that sounds easy, then you're not the right person. He wanted to say yes. God, he wanted to say yes. Lily's school bill, the overdue electric, the car that needed new brakes. 75,000 would change everything, but nothing was free. Not like this. Not from people like her. I need to think about it, he said. Victoria nodded. 3 days. You have my number. He left the folder on her desk and walked out. His hands did not stop shaking until he was back on the street. That night at the diner, he told Marcus about the meeting. They were in the kitchen during the dinner rush. Steam rising from the industrial dishwasher. Marcus was 50, had worked kitchens his whole life, and had seen enough of the world to be suspicious of everything. Rich people don't give, Ethan. They buy. Marcus scraped the grill with hard, angry motions. What do you think she wants to buy from you? I don't know. That's what scares me. Jenny, one of the other servers, pushed through the doors with a tray of dirty plates. She was maybe 25, working her way through cosmetology school. I heard about Hale, she said. My cousin worked for one of her companies. She's ruthless in business. Fires people without blinking. You sure you want to get involved with someone like that? Ethan leaned against the counter. The doubt that had been growing all day wrapped tighter around his chest. I don't know what I want. You want to take care of your kid, Marcus said, softer now. We all get that. Just make sure you're not trading one kind of broke for another. After his shift, Ethan picked up Lily from Mrs. Henderson's apartment next door. The older woman waved away his thanks like always. Lily was tired, rubbing her eyes as they walked the 2 blocks home. Can we stop at the store, Daddy? I need pencils for school. They went to the 24-hour grocery on the corner. The fluorescent lights were too bright, and the floor was sticky. Lily held his hand as they walked down the school supply aisle. She picked out the cheapest pack of pencils, already knowing not to ask for the fancy ones. On their way to the register, they passed the book section. Lily stopped, her eyes catching on a colorful cover. It was a kid's science book filled with pictures of planets and animals and the human body. $15. Daddy, can I? She stopped herself, looking up at him. Never mind. I can get it from the library. He looked at the book, at his daughter's face, at the way she had already learned not to ask. Next time, sweetie, he said, his voice rough. It's okay, Daddy. I can borrow from the library. She said it with such easy acceptance that it broke something in him. They bought the pencils and walked home in silence. After Lily was asleep, Ethan sat at his laptop and searched for Victoria Hale. Pages of results came up. Articles about her company, interviews about her philanthropy, a Forbes profile from 2 years ago. He clicked through them, reading everything he could find. Most of it was what he expected. Self-made billionaire, tech industry, started her company in her garage and built it into something worth billions. But then he found an older article buried several pages deep. It was from a local newspaper dated 2010. The headline read, "From waitress to boardroom, Victoria Hale credits late mother's work ethic." He read it twice. The article mentioned that Victoria's mother, Sarah Hale, had worked as a waitress for over 20 years, raising her daughter alone after her husband died. Sarah had worked 2 jobs most of her life, sacrificing everything to put Victoria through school. Sarah Hale died in 2018. The article did not say how, only that she passed after a long illness. Ethan stared at the screen. Victoria's mother had been a waitress, a single parent, just like him. The next morning, he called the number on Victoria's card. Her assistant answered, but when Ethan gave his name, Victoria picked up within 30 seconds. "Mr. Parker, I need to know the real reason," he said. No introduction, no pleasantries. "Why me? The actual reason?" There was a long silence on the other end. "Then come back to my office. 2 o'clock. He was there at 1:45. This time he did not wait outside. Victoria met him in the lobby herself, which surprised him. She led him not to her office, but to a smaller conference room with a single window and a view of the parking garage. She sat across from him at the table. For the first time since he met her, she looked uncertain. "My mother's name was Sarah," Victoria said. "She raised me alone. My father died when I was 3. She worked as a waitress at a place called Morton's Diner, 2 shifts a day, sometimes 3. She was exhausted all the time, but she never complained. Not once." Ethan listened, not interrupting. "When I was 15, she got hit by a drunk driver on her way home from work, broke her back. 3 surgeries, physical therapy for months. We had insurance, but it wasn't enough. We were going to lose everything." Victoria's voice was steady, but her hands were folded tight on the table. "There was a man who used to come into Morton's every morning. My mother said he was poor, worked construction, could barely afford breakfast. But when he heard what happened, he organized a fundraiser, got the whole neighborhood involved, raised enough to cover most of the bills." She looked out the window. "My mother tried to find him after she recovered. Wanted to thank him, pay him back, but he was gone. Moved away, someone said. She never got to thank him. It bothered her for the rest of her life." Ethan felt something shift in his chest. "And you're looking for him?" "He died 5 years ago. I found out too late." Victoria turned back to him. "But I saw in you what my mother saw in him. Dignity without arrogance. Kindness without expectation. She used to say he always remembered her name, even though she was just the woman who poured his coffee. You do the same thing. You see people. So this is about your mother. This is about honoring what she valued, what she taught me." Victoria's voice was firm now. "I'm not choosing you because you're poor. I'm choosing you because you're good. There's a difference." Ethan wanted to believe her. God, he wanted to, but belief had burned him before. "What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? My mother wasn't good enough by society's standards. She never finished college, worked minimum wage her whole life, but she was good. That's what matters. He sat with that for a long moment. Then I need to talk to my daughter, of course. He went home and made Lily her favorite dinner. Mac and cheese from a box with hot dogs cut up in it. After they ate, he sat her down on the couch. Lily, I need to talk to you about something important. She looked up at him with those serious eyes, so much like Emily's. Okay, Daddy. He told her about the job offer, about the money, about the school. He kept it simple, watching her face for any sign of worry. Would we have to move? She asked. No, baby. Same apartment, same neighborhood. Would you still work at night? No, I'd work during the day. I'd be home for dinner every night. Her face lit up in a way that made his chest hurt. Really? Really? She threw her arms around his neck. Then you should do it, Daddy. I miss you at dinner. He held her tight, his throat closing. Okay, I will. But the next day, before he could call Victoria, everything fell apart. Someone at Hale Industries had talked to the press. Maybe the receptionist, maybe the assistant. It did not matter who. A local news website ran a story. Billionaire Hale plucks waiter from diner for high-paying position. What's the real story? The article was full of speculation, questions about why a successful CEO would hire someone with no experience, implications about their relationship. It stopped just short of saying anything actionable, but the insinuation was clear. By that afternoon, everyone at the diner knew. Marcus would not look at him. Jenny kept giving him sad, pitying glances. Even Bob, the owner, pulled him aside. Ethan, I don't know what's going on with you and that woman, but be careful. People are talking. There's nothing going on. It's just a job. Bob clapped him on the shoulder. I believe you, son. But the world's not kind to people who rise too fast. The worst part came that evening. Lily's teacher called. Some of the kids at school had heard their parents talking. They were teasing Lily, calling her dad a gold digger, saying he was after Victoria's money. Lily did not understand the words, but she understood the tone. She came home crying, asking if Daddy had done something bad. He held her in his lap, wiping her tears, feeling rage and shame and helplessness twist inside him. No, baby. Daddy didn't do anything wrong. Then why are they being mean? Because people don't always understand. But it's going to be okay. After she fell asleep, he called Victoria. His voice was tight when she answered. I can't do this. I can't let my daughter suffer because of me. Ethan, listen. The money isn't worth her dignity. I'm sorry. I can't. He hung up before she could respond. The next morning, there was a knock on his door. He opened it to find Victoria standing in the hallway of his apartment building, looking completely out of place in her expensive coat and heels. Can I come in? She asked. He let her in because he did not know what else to do. She looked around the tiny apartment at the second-hand furniture and the toys scattered on the floor. Lily was eating cereal at the small table, still in her pajamas. She looked up, surprised. Who's that, Daddy? This is Miss Hale. He did not know how to finish. Victoria walked over and crouched down next to Lily's chair. Hi, Lily. I brought you something. She pulled a book from her bag. The science book from the store. Lily's eyes went wide. How did you? Your dad told me you like science, Victoria said softly. I thought you might like this. Lily looked at Ethan, uncertain. He nodded. She took the book carefully like it might break. Thank you, Lily whispered. Victoria stayed crouched there, her eyes level with Lily's. Your dad is the bravest man I know. He said no to a lot of money because he loves you. He wanted to protect you. That's what real fathers do. Lily's lip trembled. But the kids at school don't know what they're talking about. Victoria's voice was gentle, but firm. My mom was like your dad. She worked hard. People looked down on her sometimes, but I was proud of her, and you should be proud of your dad. He's a good man. Don't let anyone tell you different. Lily nodded, tears running down her cheeks. Victoria stood and turned to Ethan. I'm handling the newspaper. They'll print a retraction, and I've already called Lily's school. If any child harasses her again, there will be consequences. She met his eyes. If you walk away, I respect that. But know this, you're not doing this for money. You're doing this so other families don't have to feel what you're feeling right now. Your daughter will be proud, not because you're rich, because you help people. She walked to the door, then stopped. 3 days, Ethan. That's what I said. You still have one left. After she left, Lily climbed into his lap, still holding the book. Daddy, is she nice? He thought about it. Yeah, baby. I think she is. Then maybe you should help her. Like you help people at the diner. He held his daughter and looked at the book in her hands and thought about Sarah Hale, who worked herself to death so her daughter could have a chance. About the man who helped her when no one else would, about the weight of kindness passed from one stranger to another. Maybe belief was not about trust. Maybe it was about hope. And maybe hope was worth the risk. That night, Ethan did not sleep. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling while Lily breathed softly in the next room. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Emily. The way she looked the morning before the accident, kissing Lily's forehead before her shift. The way she always said, "Give her the life I couldn't give her." He had been trying, 5 years of trying, but trying was not the same as succeeding. At 5 o'clock in the morning, he gave up on sleep and made coffee. The apartment was quiet and dark. He sat at the small table and thought about Victoria's words, about Sarah Hale, who worked herself to exhaustion, about the man who helped when no one else would, about the weight of kindness passed from stranger to stranger. This was not about his pride. It was never about his pride. It was about Lily. About all the other Lilies out there who learned too young not to ask for things they wanted, who counted coins for pencils and borrowed books from libraries because $15 was too much. At 6:30, Lily wandered out of her room, rubbing her eyes. She climbed into his lap without a word, pressing her face against his chest. Daddy, can I ask you something? Always, baby. If you can help other kids like me, why don't you? The question was simple. The answer was not. He thought about all his reasons. The fear of failure, the shame of accepting help, the worry that he was not good enough. But Lily was 7 years old, and she already understood something he had been too afraid to see. This was not about him. You're right, he said quietly. I should. She looked up at him, her eyes serious. Then do it, Daddy. He called Victoria at 7. She answered on the first ring. I'm in, Ethan said. But I have conditions. I'm listening. Her voice was steady, unsurprised. 6 months trial period. I don't take the scholarship for Lily until I've proven I can do the job. I keep working 1 shift a week at the diner to remember where I came from. And every decision about the program goes through me. I'm not a figurehead. If I do this, I do it right. There was a brief silence. Then deal. You're tougher than I thought. I learned from watching my wife work doubles. When can you start? 2 weeks. I need to give Bob proper notice. 2 weeks. Victoria agreed. Welcome aboard, Ethan. The first month was harder than anything he had imagined. The office on the 38th floor felt like foreign territory. The other employees looked at him with suspicion, whispering when he walked by. The guy Victoria plucked from a diner. The charity case she felt sorry for. He heard it all. Even when they thought he could not, he did not defend himself. He just worked, arrived early, stayed late, read every file on struggling families until his eyes burned, learned the systems, made calls, built relationships with nonprofits and job placement agencies. He still wore the same suit from his wedding, still took the bus, still lived in the same one-bedroom apartment. Nothing about his life changed except where he went during the day. The Second Chances initiative launched 6 weeks after he started. Ethan had spent those weeks shaping it into something real. Not just handouts, not just checks in the mail, real support, job training programs, partnerships with companies willing to hire people who had gaps in their resumes, child care assistants, educational grants that did not make parents feel like beggars. The first family he helped was a single mother named Rachel. 2 kids, working overnight stocking shelves at a grocery store, barely making rent. The program got her into a medical billing certification course, connected her with a hospital job, helped with child care costs. Within 3 months, her income doubled. The second family was Marcus. Ethan's old coworker showed up at his office on a Wednesday afternoon, hat in his hands, looking uncomfortable in the glass and steel building. "I shouldn't have doubted you," Marcus said. "I'm sorry. You were protecting me. Nothing to apologize for." Marcus sat down heavily. "I heard about your program. Think there's room for an old kitchen guy who wants to be more than a short-order cook?" Ethan smiled. "Let me see what I can do." 2 weeks later, Marcus was enrolled in a culinary program, training to be a sous chef. The program covered tuition and connected him with a mentor at one of the best restaurants downtown. 6 months later, Marcus would be making twice what he made at the diner. By the 3rd month, the program had helped 50 families. The press coverage shifted from skeptical to curious to genuinely impressed. Reporters wanted interviews. Ethan turned them all down. "This isn't about me," he told Victoria. "It's about them." She just smiled. "That's why it works." Then in the 4th month, everything almost fell apart. Victoria collapsed in her office. Exhaustion. The doctors said she had been working 90-hour weeks for months, running the company, and overseeing a dozen initiatives. They kept her overnight for observation. The next morning, the board of directors held an emergency meeting. Ethan was not invited, but he heard about it from David, Victoria's assistant. The board wanted to suspend the Second Chances program. Too expensive, too risky, too much overhead for unclear return on investment. Ethan walked into that meeting uninvited. 12 board members in expensive suits looked up, startled as he entered the conference room. "Mr. Parker, this is a closed meeting," one of them said, an older man with silver hair and a voice like ice. "I know. I'm here anyway." Ethan stayed standing. "You want to cut the program? I'm here to tell you why you shouldn't. We've reviewed the numbers. The numbers don't tell you everything." Ethan's voice was steady. He had been terrified walking in here, but now standing in front of them, he thought about Rachel and Marcus and all the others. The fear evaporated. "I could show you spreadsheets and projected returns. I could talk about tax benefits and positive press, but that's not why this matters." He looked at each of them in turn. Victoria's mother was a waitress, worked 2 jobs her whole life. When she got hurt, a construction worker who could barely afford breakfast organized a fundraiser to help her. That man didn't do it for tax benefits. He did it because he saw her, because she remembered his name, because dignity matters. The room was silent. "You're not investing in a program. You're investing in dignity. And dignity pays back in ways money can't measure. It pays back in kids who grow up without shame. In parents who can look their children in the eye. In communities that remember kindness and pass it forward." Ethan put his hands on the table. "Rachel, one of our first participants, already volunteers at the program, helping other mothers. Marcus is mentoring 2 younger cooks. That's not on any spreadsheet, but that's what lasts." He straightened. "If you cut this program, you're not just cutting costs, you're cutting hope. And I won't be part of that. So either you keep it running or I walk. Your choice." He left before they could respond. 2 hours later, Victoria called him from the hospital. "The board voted to continue funding unanimously." "What did you say to them?" "The truth. I heard you threaten to quit." "I meant it." She laughed, tired but genuine. "I picked the right person." 6 months after he started, Ethan stood in his apartment looking at a letter from Lily's school. Her scholarship had been approved. Full tuition, all 4 years of elementary school. He had earned it, proven himself. But when he told Lily, he made a different choice. "We're going to turn down the scholarship, sweetie." She looked confused. "But why?" "Because I want you to stay at your school, with your friends, with kids like you." Not in some fancy place where everyone's parents are rich. He crouched down to her level. We're going to be okay now. We don't need the expensive school. We just need a good one, and you already have that. So we're rich now? Lily asked. Ethan smiled. No, baby. We're something better. We're enough. And we help other people be enough, too. She threw her arms around his neck. I like that better. Anyway, that Friday night, Ethan worked his shift at Old Maple Diner. He had kept his promise, one shift a week every week. Victoria had not questioned it. She understood. Bob still owned the place. Marcus was gone, working at his new restaurant, but Jenny was still here, still saving for cosmetology school. Joe still sat at the counter telling the same stories. Sarah had graduated and was working as a nurse now, but she came back sometimes to eat and leave big tips for the new servers. Near closing time, a man walked in, young, maybe 25, wearing work clothes stained with paint. His face was exhausted in a way Ethan recognized. The look of someone working 3 jobs and still falling short. The man sat at the counter and studied the menu with the careful attention of someone counting every dollar. He ordered the cheapest coffee and nothing else. Ethan brought it over with a smile. Long day? Yeah. 3, actually. The man tried to laugh, but it came out hollow. I know that feeling. When the man asked for his check, Ethan brought it over. The total was $2.50. The man pulled out his wallet and counted the bills inside. 3 ones and some change. Ethan picked up the check. Someone paid it forward for you. Just remember to do the same someday. The man looked up, his eyes suddenly wet. Seriously? Seriously. Go home. Get some rest. I don't know what to say. Thank you. I really needed this. After the man left, Ethan cleared the counter. That was when he noticed the woman sitting in the corner booth. The same booth where this had all started 6 months ago. Victoria sat with a cup of coffee and a slice of apple pie. She was smiling. Ethan walked over. You know, most CEOs don't hang out in diners at midnight. Most CEOs don't know what they're missing. She finished her coffee and stood, placing 2 bills on the table, a 50 and another 50. $100. Beneath them was a folded note. Ethan picked it up and read. You're doing great. Keep going. VH. He looked up, but she was already walking toward the door. She stopped and turned back. That man you just helped, his name is Daniel. He's a painter. Good one, too. Putting himself through art school. Victoria smiled. He's going to be fine because someone saw him, just like someone saw you. She left and Ethan stood there holding the note and the $100. He put the money in the team tip jar where it would be split among all the servers tomorrow. But he kept the note. Outside, the rain had stopped. The streets were quiet. Ethan locked up the diner and walked to his car. The old sedan that still needed new brakes, but would hold on a little longer. His phone buzzed. A text from Lily. Love you, Daddy. See you in the morning? He smiled and texted back. Love you too, baby. Some tips were not measured in dollars. Some tips changed lives. And some tips kept changing them, rippling outward in ways you could never predict. From Sarah Hale to a construction worker, from that worker to Victoria, from Victoria to him, from him to Rachel and Marcus and Daniel and dozens of others. The note in his pocket felt warm. He got in his car and drove home where his daughter was sleeping and tomorrow was waiting, where enough was finally enough, and where kindness once received could be given again and again, forever forward.